Hello, everybody. I wanted to show you sort of the last thing you might want to be doing in your final project, which is posing your creature. And Patricia asked me about using ZSpheres to pose and kind of quasi rig, and I wanted to kind of walk you through that. Last time I tried this, it didn't work at all, so I didn't really make a video for it. But they seem to have improved some things, so I wanted to give you a heads up and just let you take a look and see what what you can do if you kind of methodically go through this. So basically, what you're doing is you're taking a model that's a mesh and putting Z-spheres into it that you're going to use to pose. And then once you get the pose the way you like it, you seal it in, and the Z-spheres go away, and what you're left with is your posed model. And it doesn't matter if it's painted or not, it's all going to come along with it. One of the weird things is there has to be at least one subtool with your model. So I took my dog here, or the dog model, and stuck some cheesy dragon wings on it. Didn't try and blend them in or anything. This is just for a demo, so it's not for aesthetic purposes. It's just to show you how this works. If you don't have a subtool, ZBrush isn't smart enough to know that you can just stick a sphere on top of it as a subtool and it'll work then. But you'll get an error message if you don't have at least one subtool. Okay, just so be aware of that. So anyway, all you do when you start this is go to get your guys together here, and let's see here. I've got this is my dog. Okay, and this is the wings. There's a separate subtool in here. Okay, and you go to the Z plugin menu. Okay, and you go down to Transpose Master, and you click on this little Z sphere rig. And I already clicked it, unfortunately, but I'll unclick it and click it again. It should be orange. Okay, so that's step one. And once you do that, you can click on this T pose mesh. So that means it's going to transpose this into a low resolution mesh. So if you have higher subdivision levels, it's going to knock it down. And then you just click on this, and this is what you get. One giant Z-sphere in the middle of this. Okay, and this will kind of vary depending on the size of your model. This is a fairly small model, so the Z-sphere ended up really being really gigantic. So I'm going to immediately just take the scale tool and just scale that down. Okay, something like that. All right, and I'm going to move it to a point. And if you've done rigging and other modeling applications, you kind of get the idea how this works. Generally, you usually want to use it either at the hips or the shoulders. For people, usually the hips is best. For a four-legged animal, I tend to do it up here. It's really up to you. It'll work either way. And these are not nearly as fussy as other types of apps. It's kind of a raw way of doing it, so you might have to go back in and touch things up. But for a quick way to pose something, it works really well. Okay, um, so then from then on, you're just working with Z spheres, which you've been doing all along. Remember to turn your draw size down so you can pick them easily. And beyond that, all you're going to be doing, and I'm going to hit the X key to turn on symmetry here, is you're going to be drawing a few of these, like so, and doing the thing you were doing before, moving them down. And by the way, the reason I can see through this is I have ghosting set up here, and transparency as well, so you can kind of see the Z-spheres underneath it. Um, and I'm just going to click on this and set a couple of arbitrary joints because I know I'm going to want that. I'm going to use the scale tool to scale this down so it's thinner. I don't want these really poking outside of the legs all that much. They'll start to mess each other up. So I'm going to hold down the Option or Alt key and click and drag on these with the scale tool. And that's going to scale the whole chain down like that. Oops. Go. I can grab that. So you got to get up closer to do that. There we go. Okay. So you can kind of see how that's sitting in there. So once I do that, I can then start dragging these. And where you want to put these bends is where there's an actual joint in the model or where that would be. Okay, so this is in the wrong place. I'm going to move it down to this little reverse knee joint here. And then I'm not going to do toes or anything like that. I'm just going to kind of leave that as is. And then I'm going to go to my front view. And since I've got symmetry on and I've got a symmetrical model, it's really super easy to just move these guys around like that. Okay, like so. All right. And then this guy, go back in here. And I might scale up my main sphere here a bit. And again, it's kind of interesting because you kind of can work on this, test it, and then keep going back and working on it some more. So I'll just draw a couple more in here and then I'll zoom forward so you don't have to watch all of this happening in real time. And again, the way I usually do this is I just drag that all the way out to here, stick a couple of points in between with the draw tool, just clicking once on them, and then just move these into place so that they're taking that space up. Okay, and depending on how much flexibility you want, you could add more of these in as you go. Okay, and just to kind of show you how you can look at this as you go, once you start making these, there's a new little menu item down here called rigging, and you can click bind mesh to temporarily test it and see how it works. So if I grab the rotate tool here and click on this, you can see, and this is something you should be aware of. You see these guys, this is moving the back legs as well. And the reason it's doing that is because there are no bones or Z-spheres in here. So you're going to have to go through and put all of these all the way along your model to kind of bind them. They're essentially being held in place, whatever is the closest Z-sphere to the actual mesh itself. Okay, so if I rotate this, you're going to see that kind of going like that. Obviously, and typically you would turn off symmetry when you're posing because that's not exactly what you want. All right, so let me just get out of here. When you click bind mesh again, whatever you did goes back to just the Z-sphere. So it puts the model back where it was when you started, but it's really just a way of testing how it looks. Okay. All right, so I'm going to pause this for a second. I'll go back and show you when I add more Z-spheres, what that looks like. Okay, so be right back. Okay, so here I am back with this, and you can kind of see I added more of these guys in here. So if I turn solo on down here, you'll see this without the actual mesh in place. You can kind of see it looks like one of those weird robot dogs that creep me out. Okay, that looks like that. All right. So again, now if I try and work this, you'll see that these back legs are not going to be affected as they were in the last bit. So if I click bind mesh here, and I'm on my move tool. Oops, let me turn symmetry off. I'm going to see how this works. Okay, and you should immediately see that the wings are moving because those have not been changed at this point. But I didn't really care about that. I'm looking at this stuff. Okay, I'm looking to see if this is working the way I expect it to. Okay, like that. All right, which is pretty nice. Okay, so as long as that's looking okay, well, that's pretty weird, but that's okay. We'll deal with that in a second. I'm going to turn that off, and you'll see this should snap back to where it was. Okay, like so. Okay, so clearly I need to add some Z-spheres for the wings to get those under control. So any part of the mesh that you're working on that sticks out or is near something else that you don't want to affect, you need to put Z-spheres in that as well to basically hold it in place with those Z-spheres. Okay, so that's the idea of the whole process of what you're doing. All right, so let me pause this and I'll get back and show you what it looks like with those guys in the wings. Okay, so here are my winged guys. Okay, and again, having a symmetrical pose makes it super easy because you're just doing one side and kind of tweaking as you go. All right, so let's see how that works. Try bind mesh here. Now this is a case where with the symmetry, maybe I do want the wings, because wings don't usually act in opposition to each other. So I get rotate here and start pulling these up. You can kind of see how I can make these kind of twist and turn like that, which is pretty cool. Okay. Maybe I want these flipped down a little bit at the tips. And again, the more joints you put in, the more control you'll have over what's going on. Okay. You'll see I don't have one in here, so this is kind of bending a little bit with that. But again, if I had issues with that, I would just, click bind mesh, fix it, go back to it again, and go from there. Okay. So there's kind of the state of this at this point. So let me show you how to kind of tie everything together when you're ready to finish it. I'll turn this off. I will pause. Okay, so I'm just going to kind of play around with posing this a little bit. Pull the tail up. I started and then realized, no, I wasn't filming it, or I wasn't recording it. So get this guy going up a bit. I think I kind of want to just make it look like it's about to take off or something. Oh, heck, I don't know. Trying to decide which way to. No, I think I had it better that way. Oh my goodness, that's not good. So you can kind of see how it's really kind of fun once you lay these down, and it really just doesn't take that long, which is pretty great. So anyway, that's not great, but like I said, I just want to make this quick for you to kind of get an idea of how this can work. Okay, so anyway, when you get a pose you like, the way you make it stick is you leave this orange, okay, leave bind mesh on like that, and you go to back where you started is you plug in and you click on this T pose sub T, okay. So what that's going to do is actually set it, okay, and get rid of the ZSpheres, all right. So if I click on that, there it is, less than a second, pretty great. Okay, let me turn transparency off here so you can kind of see it. Okay, and you see it actually it does a pretty decent job of putting everything together. Again, I didn't do anything with this, I just stuck these in there, so there's no blending. But if I actually had blended that in, you'd get a nice transition on it, and then you can go ahead and render it from there. Okay, so anyway, that's just sort of the idea of how this works, and there are videos on YouTube. Obviously, if you just click on or Google ZSpheres rigging, you'll see a bunch of things that will go into more depth and detail. And the cool thing about having subtools included in this is that you could have a clothed character, carrying things and stuff like that, and actually get the pose to reflect in those objects as well when you do it. So anyway, you don't have to do this for your final, but a number of you have been, itching to get into some posing. So this is how you do it. Okay. So I hope this helped. And if you have questions about it or issues, email me. We've got a little over a week left on this. So good luck and have fun.